We are back and we are joined once again by friend of the show, Ryan Grimm, co-founder and reporter at Dropsite News, co-host of Counterpoints. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Oh, thanks, Emma. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Lots of news. I'm sure you're busy as well. And by the way, congrats on, Dropsite. It's moving on up. I mean, your
Oh, good.
reporting is really getting recognized, especially on the international stage right now, because you have an editor, Alex Colson, who is one
Hmm.
of the 500 activists, lawyers, journalists, and more around that number who were sailing on the Mediterranean Sea for over a month trying to break the siege with the Sumud Flotilla. Last night, Israel's Navy illegally intercepted these ships, except one as of the reporting right now. But Ryan, if you could just give us a recap of the last month and where things stand over the past 24 hours, after the past 24 hours.
Yeah, they left from Spain, so it's been quite a long several week long journey across the Mediterranean. Picked up another fleet basically in Tunisia. In Tunisia, one of their boats was hit by some type of Israeli drone strike that caused some, mostly cosmetic, significant, but not debilitating damage, and was there to send a message, that that kinetic force was planned to be used against the boats in the flotilla, and throughout their journey, the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs continued, putting out baseless assertions that the flotilla was actually Hamas. Just in the last day or two, they put out what they said were never before revealed documents that they had obtained in 2021 and before that proved that Hamas had sponsored this flotilla, which is absurd on its face. Like, the flotilla was not organized in 2021. It quickly became clear they had actually tried to put these exact same documents out the last time Greta was on a flotilla, and there were all sorts of other self-contradictory elements to it. But what was concerning about the claims was not the substance of them, because everyone could see through that, but what it foreshadowed in terms of a potentially violent response. About a week ago, 9 of the ships were attacked by what can only be Israeli drones. One of them completely disabled, had its mast destroyed, and the organizers were getting signals from their sources and around Europe that the next night was going to bring even more serious attacks, because nobody was seriously hurt, despite the 9 ships being attacked by drones. And it was then actually that the Italian Navy said it was going to send its ship alongside them. Spain then followed them and said it was Spain that they were also going to send one. And so the attack that they were expecting the next night did not materialize. And I think that was a real consequence of the Italian Navy getting involved. Now, Meloni, the Italian prime minister, was highly critical of the flotilla, wanted nothing to do with it, had nothing but ill things to say about it. But because the Genoa dock workers and other unions were out in the streets demanding that Italy stand up for the flotilla, which had a number of Italian members of parliament on it, Meloni had no choice but to act. The Spanish and Italian ships that left, though, the flotilla when it got to what they call the Orange Zone. The Orange Zone being this area roughly 90 to 110 nautical miles off of the Gaza shore, where Israel in the past has intercepted all of these flotillas. And so once they got there, these 40 plus ships were on their own. And then it was last night that all of them were boarded, except for
that.
But
Well,
it's unclear what's going on with the last
yes.
one.
Yes.
Right. It might be a technical malfunction with its ship's not moving, and it hasn't moved for like 12 hours. So it's likely that that crew has been taken into custody, but
Right.
we don't know. Like it remains an open question, and people are trying to track it and figure out what's
Well,
going on.
I saw a reporting from The Guardian this morning that seemed to confirm at the very least that one boat, Mikeno, was reported to have escaped the blockade.
Mhm.
And even if they were intercepted, which is obviously quite likely, this would still be, if they crossed a certain threshold, the first time that a humanitarian vessel has crossed into Gaza's nautical territory
Mhm.
since 2009, which is when Israel implemented its naval blockade of Gaza. Another reminder to folks that, Israel has basically been controlling Gaza's borders, land and sea for decades, and controlling the flow of trade, controlling what goes in and out of Gaza well prior to October 7th. So this is historic if they even got into
Right.
the territory of Gaza's waters.
Right. And so our editor Alex Colson was on a ship called the Sirius, and he and the ship, they live streamed both their CCTV footage as well as from his own phone, so that the world could see that this was a completely nonviolent action. In fact, when they got close to what they considered to be the orange zone, they actually filmed themselves like dumping all of their kitchen knives, for instance, overboard. Anything that could be remotely misinterpreted as a threat to the Israeli military was tossed overboard, and they were trained in nonviolent response to the Israeli incursion. And as far as we could tell so far, we'll learn more when we can talk to Alex again on the other side. That we're not aware of any like major violent incidents.
That's good so far.
Yeah, they have said that the European and Americans will be kept for 72 hours and then deported to Europe. And so we'll continue to monitor that situation and see whether or not they abide by that.
And what's concerning a little bit though is that you have I was seeing that they may be held for a little bit longer because of Yom Kippur, and the courts may be shut down. I'm not sure what the status of that is at this point, but let's just play a little bit of footage here from the flotilla. This is footage as Ryan was speaking about. I'm not sure who recorded this. This is from the Global Sumud Flotilla's Instagram account itself, but of the IDF intercepting at least one of these ships. So it says, for more than 14 hours, heavily armed Israeli occupation forces intercepted flotilla vessels. And you see them approaching. Obviously heavily armed. These ships were crewed by... Yep. Wait, what'd you say, Ryan?
Masked up.
Masked up, right.
Yeah, like ICE agents.
Exactly. They must be very proud. And, yeah, we're just kind of scrolling through. You can see them boarding. And this is some of the footage that Ryan was referencing. You mentioned earlier this strike on the... on one of on the flotilla in Tunisia. This is not the first time that Israel has done this. They did this in, I believe, prior to Greta Thunberg boarding in a previous effort. They had bombed it as a show of force and a message. But like the fact that they can disable these flotilla boats without any casualties, the fact that they can be so targeted in their strikes on these boats, it's just another piece of, a mountain of evidence that obviously they have the capacity to limit casualties in Gaza if they so choose. I mean, you see these drones that are that shot that doctor in the head the other day,
Right.
a precision strike. You see that they have the ability to take over, like, to blast Netanyahu's UN speech into Gaza, to take over their phones and intercept their communications. I mean, Anthony Lowenstein's book, The Palestine Laboratory, is so important here because it's basically 141 square miles of experiments of the most sadistic military technology possible, and they pretend like they can't be precise in any way when they can be the most precise of any military in history.
Right. Yes. That's because they did manage to, strike 9 of these ships plus in Tunisia, and without doing what they were nervous about doing, which is going over the line and killing somebody from Spain or Italy or the United States, which then ratchets up the diplomatic pressure that they would be under. Just the fact that they were attacking and setting fire to these boats, brought significant amounts of diplomatic blowback, even from a country like Italy, where that has an extremely pro-Israel prime minister. So yeah, you're right. It does show that if they decide that they don't want to kill people, they do actually have the capacity to not kill people.
Gustavo Petro of Colombia expelled, I believe, in response to this, Israeli diplomats over the interception of the flotilla. Just as a contrast to the European governments, I think it's important to point that out. But can you shed any light on like the decision of these European ship escorts to retreat once the said orange zone approached? Like, obviously Maloney is far right and was not in favor of this, and then you have Italy's largest union striking just overnight in response to this. But talking about Spain and Greece and what their role is in this is interesting to me too.
There was some hope among some of those either on board or watching the flotilla that these ships would accompany them, all the way to the shores effectively, and help to open up a humanitarian corridor. That wasn't their plan. So I've seen people argue it both ways. On the one hand, say, well, this is just a stunt. They're just trying to, make their own domestic publics feel a little bit better about the unconditional fealty that they've given to Israel over the years. And so they're like, look, at least we're doing something. We're sending because they were very clear that they kept underlining that these are rescue ships, that they were not there to confront Israel. However, ships like the type of ship you sends its own message. They didn't send Coast Guard. They didn't send the Coast Guard, which those are the kinds of vehicles you would send if it was just a rescue operation. So the fact that they sent actual, armed up military vehicles, naval ships, was a political signal as well. That, okay, we're going to say that this is a rescue effort, and we're not going to go in beyond the orange zone. But the fact that they sent it out at all is something of a significant departure from the past.
Alex Colson, you're of DropSite. I saw in your guys' write-up of what's been happening, spoke about how the IDF was spraying the flotilla with something called skunk water. We have this short clip of Greg Stoker, who we've had on the show before. He was on the veterans boat, and he has some short footage of he's ripping a cig in this, which is hilarious. But this is some footage of said skunk water, which Israel has used many times over the years against Palestinians. So you can see that yellow spray. All right, there. I'm just laughing at Greg. Just being a legend. But can you explain that skunk water stuff and Israel's usage of it and what DropSite has found on that front?
Yeah, I mean it's a crowd control measure. that Israel has been deploying for quite some time that has, kind of an extra layer of sadism to it, that it is, from everybody, I've never been around it, but everybody who describes it, it's just, produces this utterly repulsive scent, just absolutely disgusting. And this isn't an unusual use for it, in the sense that, where do you want the crowd to go? Like, is this, if it's crowd control and you're trying to make an area stink and make a bunch of people stink and get them to go from, the town square where they're protesting to somewhere else, that's a use case for it. But they're on the boat. What are they going to do? Like jump in the sea? And how does them jumping in the sea actually help the IDF get them into custody? So this felt more just like conspicuous sadism than anything related to any kind of operational strategy here.
And that's the other thing is that this is international waters. I mean, Israel is continuously asserting.
Your early point that this is illegal is a key one.
Yeah, can you expand on that? Because I mean, this is like it's just like taken as granted that Israel should be able to do whatever the hell they want in international waters that are approaching the Gaza Strip.
And it's right. So they have no authority whatsoever over them when they're not in Israeli waters, which they weren't anywhere close to. But B, as the organizers pointed out to the Israeli military over the PA, the International Court of Justice barred Israel from blocking humanitarian aid. The ICJ said that the world needs to flood aid into Gaza and that Israel must stop blocking the aid. So not only do they have no authority to board these vessels and arrest these people, they have been specifically barred from doing so by the International Court of Justice. Clearly, they had no intention of abiding by that order, though.
Very, very clearly. Ryan Grimm, thanks so much for coming on. Also on short notice, I appreciate it, giving us a sense of what's happening. And, following Drop Site right now is essential. You guys do the best explainers, and you have somebody obviously on the ground reporting on this incredibly historic mission. Thanks so much, Ryan, for coming on today.
Thanks for the kind words, Emma. Very much appreciate it.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.